at 6 o'clock on Tuesday, May 28th, 2024, and I call the meeting of the Personnel and Finance Committee to order. First item and the second item on the agenda is approval of the vouchers.
I'll make a motion to approve the vouchers.
I will second it.
Motion made and seconded to approve the vouchers. Is there any further discussion on them?
All my questions were answered by Emily.
Mine as well.
Very well. A motion's been made and seconded to consider approving the vouchers. All those in favor signify so by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. The vouchers are approved. Number 3, consider approving minutes from the previous meeting.
I will make a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
Second.
Any motion made and seconded? Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. That is approved. Under general items for consideration, number 1, discuss and consider limited term employment for Police Recruit Academy training. And I will turn to Chief Bennett.
So I see my letter is attached. As we kind of troubleshoot and brainstorm ways to increase our pool of hiring, this is one that has come up, and it's something that other agencies are clearly doing. Every time we go to recruit from recruit academies, the vast majority are sponsored by departments now. So occasionally there's a couple available here and there that aren't spoken for. But for example, we're going to interview a young man later this week. He came out of Chippewa Valley Tech. There was 20 recruits in his academy that just graduated. 18 were spoken for by other agencies and 2 were not. And that's pretty common in our region. So I think it's something we should consider as an option to hire someone and hire based on character. And if they don't have the academy, we sponsor them through it. The LTE position, I think, is a responsible way to approach that. Why they do that, and if they can't make it through, then they're not a full-time employee. We're not obligated by any other full-time obligations to cease that employment.
I will make a motion to approve for the sake of discussion.
I will second for discussion.
Motion made and seconded for the purpose of discussion.
Corey, what will they be doing as LTE employees, because they're not sworn officers at that
Correct.
point, so they'll be getting paid less and doing.
To go to the academy, and that's all they're going to be paid to do at that point, is go to the academy and be trained.
Okay, do you have, how long is that?
It's a 720-hour academy, so whatever that equates to in weeks. I didn't run it out. Regardless of that, my computer won't work now.
18 weeks.
There you go.
We're all trying to do
Average of 40-ish hours. Sometimes their weeks are longer. They do longer days. So we do have the potential for some overtime in there. But typically, like right now, we've been running a vacancy since November of last year that's been unfilled. So we're not paying a normal full-time employee.
So they're picking their academy and they're paying for their academy. We're just reimbursing them the cost to go to it, or
No.
we pick the academy, or what?
They would be an employee, so we would be paying them the wage for attending, and we would be paying for the academy itself.
In addition to the wage?
Yes. The benefit of that is once they complete it, here's the risk though too. If they complete it successfully, we get that reimbursed to us from the state of Wisconsin. If they don't complete it successfully, we eat that cost of the academy.
Do you have a ballpark idea where that runs?
Not anymore, I don't. A few $1,000s.
But again, if they make it through, we get that money back.
We get that money back and we get an officer.
What's the success fail rate of the average academy?
I don't think they have a large failure rate. They occasionally, a couple people will either drop out or not meet the standards, but I don't think it's very high. Again, I think that's going to be on the front side as we evaluate people. Are they serious about this? What's their academic history look like, et cetera?
So how do you propose evaluating or coming up with candidates that you would consider worthy of?
We would have to change the way we interview, for sure. If we're going to interview people who have no background and no prior academy background whatsoever, we do have to change the way we interview our candidates. But right now, I have 3 applications waiting for whether or not we approve this, to evaluate them, I should say. With no law enforcement background per se, we can't ask certain questions.
And then, so would you like target high school graduates as they're coming out of high school going forward? Or-
That long term, yes. So right now, I have a young man who just graduated in Tomahawk, and he's going to go to NTC for this. But it's going to be a couple years before he gets his associates, and you're required to have a minimum of 60 college credits right now to come into the profession. So we're going to try to mentor people like that if we can bring them into our fold. That would be great long term. But for the purpose of what we're talking about here, I don't know if we can sponsor people for an associate's degree. I'm just talking about the academy right now.
Okay.
I don't think we want to get into sponsoring
That's a long
degrees.
term.
Yeah, but I think this is a good idea for trying to get officers in our house, not just
Yep.
officers in general. So, is there a way to, when we sponsor someone in order to go through the academy, is there a way to get them to where they have to commit to Merrill for a year, 2, 3, like something along those lines? I don't know what the...
We could come up with language to do that, and I think we should if we're going to do that with a person. Whether it's enforceable if someone challenges it is the bigger question. There's been some rulings on that,
Okay.
but I think it's the responsible thing for us to try to do.
Yeah.
We're investing that much in somebody. There should be a time limit that they commit to.
Yeah, and that's kind of my thought. It's like we're putting the time and
Mhm.
money into you,
Yep.
Hoping that you'll succeed.
Yep.
And
There's been
Eating
some
the-
contrary court rulings, just so you're aware of it.
No,
but
and that-
but I agree with you. I think we should.
yeah, and that's fine. That's where I'm kind of looking towards our legal counsel and Tom Hayden to.
I'm vaguely familiar with the courts talking about, we can certainly come up with something that'd be as tight as we make it.
Yeah.
Do we not already have something if we hire someone that requires them to spend 3 years with us?
No.
Or that got dropped?
It got dropped.
Are there any veterans that you could put through the same pace or the same,
Any applicant that's meeting the basic requirements, we would look at for sure.
Okay.
Veterans, I think, have a leg up because they've been in a similar command structure before and they've succeeded in that environment. So, yeah, they
Mhm.
usually do pretty well in these processes.
So you are looking at this now specifically because you have a couple applicants in mind right now?
Not specifically, no.
No.
Just for another option to increase our pool of candidates so we can interview more people. And
Well, and how many of your current we only have one vacancy right now, correct? I guess.
one vacancy and a known retirement approaching.
Okay, yeah, and we've got one known retirement approaching. How many are you anticipating could happen within the next year or 2?
It could be 2 more for sure in the next year or 2.
Okay, so would that be 4 vacancies
And
at
by
this
the
one?
math, it could be 2 more than that if people really wanted to go.
Yeah. So we're looking at quite a hole in our
Yeah.
officers if we don't find a way to.
We've had an open process since June of last year, maybe even May of last year, and we've pulled one candidate, thankfully a good candidate out of it. But it's been open for this long, and we haven't been able to get to a second one yet.
Okay.
If the recruit is at 44 hours for the week, we're paying him overtime. What if he or she is at 38 hours for the week?
Just whatever their wage is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they'll be on an hourly basis.
Yeah.
Which that's still less than an officer, in training, I would assume.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
the wage, the whole idea there was just to try to be competitive with wherever they're coming from,
Mhm.
to make sure that we can
Get them in
sustain
the
their
door.
life while we put them through the academy, you know.
And they're not sworn until they're completely done with school and hired.
We don't begin the probation process and all that.
So they
until
don't
they're sworn.
get the benefits of being in the police union until they're.
And we don't engage
They
the
have to be there
unemployment
for a year anyways.
requirements
My,
either.
my question is it, you know, like a code of conduct? You have potentially a 20-year-old kid
Mhm.
that is a Merrill police officer, but not really, and just making sure that they're well aware of their expectations inside and outside the classroom. And
Yeah, they would be non-empowered, you know. They're just not an officer at that point. They're a recruit, and that's it.
They're training to be one, but
Yeah.
they're not there yet.
Correct.
any further discussion?
Number are you looking
What's that?
at? What kind of number are you looking at?
Wow, the wage was kind of flexible, so you could compete.
I think the only other thought that I would have is that, you know, we're able to to reevaluate this, you know, as we go forward to see if it's working the way we want it to, or if, you know, whatever issues come up with it. But I think it's probably a good intermediate step.
I think it's your permanent step. I think we've completely regressed to the 80s.
The agency next door is just starting to go do this now, too.
The last people we sent through the recruit academy was you? Oh, I thought it was Hartwig.
It was Heckendorf before that, I believe.
That was all before my time,
Yeah,
Gus.
but no,
Sorry.
Greg and Ron got sent through.
Oh, they did?
Yep,
That'd have been 90 then, right? Or 92?
90.
90.
Would have been close to that. So before I was even born.
Thanks.
Yep, not a problem.
Tom sits in his 92 underwear over there. All right, a motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion?
Do you want to put, like, it could be, if you did a $20 an hour wage, 720 credit hours, it'd be about $14,000-ish if you're looking for a
For,
ballpark.
for the wages,
Yeah,
yeah.
plus tuition.
Tuition, and I would say tuition is no more than 7,500, right? For a semester at that. I'll track that down and send you an email if that's all right. I'll get an exact number.
Are there books? I assume there's books you have to pay for.
I don't know. I think they've gotten away from that, to be honest with you.
I know NTC has for the most part too. They've tried to get away from the buying of books, but
You download them for a fee, I'm sure.
but
Other people have computers. Okay. All those in favor on the motion signify so by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried.
Thank you. I'll
I
keep you updated.
Okay. I think under number 2, we can probably cut to the chase pretty quick here. From all I see, this is discuss, consider to approval to hire a library assistant 2 position at TV Scott Library as a result of an upcoming retirement. From what I'm reading in the packet is we really don't have a lot of authority to tell you what to do. And you're probably going to do this anyways. We don't blame you for it, but you're bringing this to us as a courtesy, which we appreciate.
Absolutely.
So we really can't, no matter how we vote, you're going to go do what you want to do because you have authority from another board to do it. And that's the way the law reads, and you're perfectly right to do it that way. But I do enjoy the courtesy notice.
Yeah.
And I think.
I want to have the discussion. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
happy to have a discussion.
well, and
so.
I think knowing that not all of your budget's coming from us anyways kind of makes me
No.
go, okay anyway. So I'll make the motion to approve this.
Do we need a motion to approve?
No.
Well, the only reason we brought it, or recommended
Yeah.
bringing it here, is because the only exceptions were police and fire line, transit.
So you're saying library should be added as a,
That's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
it'll
An
be added to
exception
the
to the-
list.
You have so few openings, my guess is it like this, that,
Few and far between. I mean, I have this one. There's a possibility of another one, but that doesn't happen very often.
Oh.
I'm about to say your last hire was probably. I'm trying to think. Almost a year ago, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
all right. Well, we'll add the library next time we talk about a hiring freeze and add or detract maybe somebody from there. But thank you for bringing it before this committee, and we
Yep.
are well aware of what you're doing and keep doing what you're doing.
All right, thank you.
No problem. We'll move on to monthly reports, starting with Mayor Haas. Anything for City Administrator Aki?
I have one.
Oh,
What is the assistant engineer's name?
Caleb Novich.
Okay, just curious. I know you had mentioned it once before, but
And he is rocking and rolling. He's on.
He started last Monday, so.
Okay.
He seemed like a nice young man when I met him briefly walking the halls here, so.
All right, we'll move on to Finance Director Lay.
Any questions?
I do have a few, just about the report summary. You have in there that the spending you're now spending out for the 2024 capital, and that's putting pressure on the city's available cash. We're still in a position to keep that flowing, though, for now until the borrowing occurs.
Yep, I'm just watching it.
Okay. And the audit stuff went well? There were no major issues of any sort, or as far as?
Correct, yep, we're still, tried just emailing Amber before I came, so there's just a few odds and ends to wrap up.
Seems to be a little smoother this year on their part from our part, or?
I don't know, I haven't done this Merrill before, but, they haven't raised any concerns with me, I haven't had any trouble getting the information that they need.
It seems like in the past we were always scrambling about now for some reason. So. Would you like to take a kick at it?
I've got no
Okay.
true questions on it.
Oh, what-
It all seems pretty straightforward to me, and it seems like you're rocking and rolling, so.
I actually do
going.
have two more, sorry.
Oh, well.
Sorry, I just
Just sit
you know,
back and
had a little bit of time, you know? On your page where you have the borrowing summaries and stuff, and it says down on the refinancing developer incentives, we'll use available cash. Do you know about how much that?
It's $125,000.
Okay. And then the last question is, you commented about making the electronic fund transfers, the payments for debt and stuff. Did you guys establish some type of procedure for that, then a policy procedure that, or you're working on some cross-training type things, or so
Yeah,
somebody
we should-
knows how to step in and do it if?
We've been training, we've set like an internal policy, but we should absolutely formalize that, so it's a suggestion.
Okay. That's it. Thank you, Emily.
Thank you. You make us look smart every month.
Somebody has to.
Yeah.
That was too easy, sorry.
That was
Set.
sassy.
Spike.
City Attorney Hayden, any questions for Tom? Another one easy off the hook. We'll move on to City Clerk Anderson Malm. Any que-
I do have one.
My mic on, so I can answer.
I'm sorry. I'm just curious if you've heard any discussion about the new absentee ballots with the different colored envelopes and any potential issues that the state is
Well,
looking
actually,
into.
we've been using those. It was mandatory to start using them in February because the official changeover was like January 1st. So I haven't had any issues. When I went to conference last August, that was when the whole thing was starting, the change and everything. And a number of us clerks had asked at the time if we could use up our stash that we had. And Megan Wolf, the head of the Elections Commission, had said that if the clerks would have used the old envelopes, and if anything would have happened, then WEC wouldn't have stood behind us. So we said, so you're saying that we have to, the taxpayers of our communities have to just eat all that money that we spent? And she said, yes. So all those old envelopes had to be destroyed because we couldn't use them. And we all had to order the new ones with all the pretty colors on them.
Well, I'm just curious because I've been reading articles about them saying that the signature is required on the envelope, but not necessarily on the actual voting document, and that's putting absentee voters in a position of either committing perjury by signing the envelope and not the actual voting document.
The envelope
itself.
is the certificate, and so they have to sign it. That is their voting certificate. They don't, the ballot is inside, and when they return it, they have to sign. They always had to. Even the old envelopes, they had to sign the envelope, which is a certificate, and then their witness has to sign it. Now, there's been issues about if a witness needs to sign it, and that's up to the clerks. And yeah, witnesses have to sign them in Merrill. And I need an address. And if they don't provide that, I mail them back.
Okay. All right. Just curious. I
Okay.
appreciate it.
On the same theme,
Mhm.
if the Wisconsin Supreme Court decides that ballot drop boxes are legal again, is the community obligated to install one?
No. That again, actually clerks are legislated by the legislature. And so I think it would be, what I've heard, it would be up to the clerk, the municipality, the clerk in the municipality, if a drop box is used or not. It will not be mandatory because, again, the elections, the rules, the statutes are determined by the legislature, not by the Wisconsin Elections Commission or the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court can't change legislature. Legislature does legislature. My understanding.
In theory.
In theory. Yes.
Any
Well,
further questions?
I appreciate what you do, Lori, because I do know you're doing your best to
I am. Thank you.
make things work well.
Any further questions of our clerk? Municipal Court? No representative here. I'll entertain a motion to place the monthly reports on file.
Motion to place the monthly reports on file.
I will second the motion.
Motion made and second to place the monthly reports on file. All those in favor signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. Item number 6 on the agenda is public comment. Anyone in person or on the phone like to make public comment? Third and final call for public comment. Hearing none, we'll move on to date and time of next meeting, which should be Tuesday, June 25th at 6 p.m. unless anyone has any conflicts.
Should work.
I'll be here.
All right. The committee may convene in closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute, Section 19.85, Parent 1, Parent C, for considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which a governmental body has jurisdiction or exercise responsibility. And this is for an update and discussion of the status of city employee on extended leave.
Make a motion to go into closed session.
I will second the motion.
A motion's been made and seconded to go into closed session. Clerk, would you call the roll?
Mr. Kaler,
Aye.
Ms. Vermanek,
Aye.
Mr. Meyer.
Aye.
All right.
All right. We will be going into closed session.